this work? Oh, cool, it does. All right. So, welcome to my capstone. My name is Colin Asklar. And my presentation is about community development and having a skate park in the town of Berlin. So, I was fortunate enough last summer to get a job at Cutting Edge. It's a skateboard shop. They sell BMX bikes too. And I went in there with an affinity for BMX biking, going around, getting exercise, learning some cool tricks. But when I got my job, I started to realize that there's a lot of a bigger world out there for freestyle sports. So I began going to skate parks more. I tried skateboarding a little bit. I got to see that this is actually a very big sport, even for people in the ages from like 10 all the way to like 30. I've seen people do this. And so I started to wonder, why isn't there a skate park in Berlin? I go to skate parks that are 15, 20 minutes away, and I would like to see one in my hometown. And I thought that this would be a good thing to research. So I first started to look at, why would it be good to get a skate park in Berlin? So I did some research. One of the first articles I found was by the director of Parks and Rec in Plymouth, Minnesota. He pulled up an anecdote when he was working on his town that he referenced. He said in Claremont, California, there were local skaters that were ruining the storefronts of the town. They were using them as obstacles, and both the shopkeepers and the skaters were unhappy with the situation because there wasn't a place for the kids to go and skate. So as a result, they went and they built a skate park. Now I see this in Berlin because I have friends who, we all need places to skate. So instead of having a place to go, sometimes we save gas and money by just going around in the streets. It's not necessarily legal, but it's not as safe as it could be. There's cars, there's traffic, there's people, and eventually sometimes people get upset that you're just around where they don't want you to be. So in Berlin, it would be better because if we had a skate park, it'd be taking kids to a place where they're allowed to do what they want to without harming the rest of the town. When I went, and this is part of the second part of my presentation, when I went and I spoke with people at the town board, it actually turns out that they want one too. I spoke with Christy Sullivan, she's the assistant to the town manager, and she said that she would love to see a skate park in the town. She feels as if people are using the public facilities incorrectly. They're driving over to school and stuff, and she wants to see one as well. So there's definitely backing from the town to have one as well. Another thing that I researched is California Skate Parks. This is a company that is used by Vans and by the Tony Hawk Foundation, and they have a whole Q&A section because they build skate parks. And people ask, why should we invest in you? And they go on to say that one of the biggest things that skate parks can do is they can take at-risk kids away from dangerous activities. By giving kids a place to go and skate, they can get them into this sort of sport that is not traditional, because not everyone plays track, not everyone plays football, but it gives them an outlet for their energy and their time. So I think as part of Berlin, I feel as if we're a community that encourages people to be diverse and chase the things that they want to do with their life and their time and what makes them happy. So I feel that getting a skate park in Berlin would give kids these opportunities to go and try something that's not traditional, but still get the exercise and the entertainment that they need. So the final thing that I found was that if we build a good skate park, it can be something that everyone in the community can use. The National Recreation Parks Association, it's a whole article about how community can get involved building a skate park. They went and they gave a no-name example of how there was one town that representatives were working in, and everyone on the town was completely against a skate park. They were saying, oh, it's going to be disruptive to the nearby elderly home that's here. It turned out is as soon as they had the opening for the park, all the elderly people came to see the opening, they used the park, they enjoyed it. What I really took away from that was, I see that could happen very easily in Berlin. We're a town of wide age range, but if you make a good park, it doesn't have to just be a skate park. If it's something that all ages can use and you make it wider and you have nice benches, you have places to eat, just like, relax, it's something that everyone in the town can use, and it's not just focused on one demographic, and the money will be well spent that's used for this. One example I like to reference is, if any of you have ever been to Bristol, there's Rockwell Park in Bristol. It's an amazing park. Every time I go there, there's hundreds of people there that go. There's people that are skateboarding, there's people that are using the playscape, the water parks, And I would like to see something to that scale in Berlin, where it's a place that families can go and kids can go to use their time. So what happened was, once I sort of figured out, this is a good idea, it's actually possible to do this in Berlin. I went and spoke to people in the town to figure out how we could get this in Berlin. What are the processes? So when I spoke with Jack Healy, who's the town manager, I spoke with Miss Christy Sullivan, she's the assistant to the town manager, and I spoke with Doug Solik, he's the director of facilities. So I set up a meeting with them, and they were very helpful, and they helped me narrow down like a streamlined way to explain the processes to create a skate park. So the first thing that you would do is you need a plan. You have to go to the town with sort of an idea, but you actually have to have a lot of good facts. You have to figure out where you're going to go with zoning. You can find that out if you know where the town has property, or you can use the online GIS to figure out what spaces are open. Create some sketches, what sort of features you'd like to see, and give them a visual. You can even 3D model it. That gives them a very good idea, and it's very easy software to use. Estimate the cost, if you know it on your own, or you can quote companies, just see about what it's going to cost so you can tell them, hey, this is going to cost us $1 million. And then make a flow chart about how it's going to go about, how it's going to be constructed, where you're going to get your stuff from. And the biggest thing that a lot of people always care about is funding. You have to outline, hey, we're going to do a fundraiser. It's going to come from the town budget. We're going to get a grant from certain foundations. And once you have all these things, you have a solid idea that you can go and present to people in the town. And that's usually where you would start off at. And then you go and present to the town manager. This is Jack Healy, one of the people I met with. And you contact him, say, hey, I just want to schedule a meeting. You meet with him, present to him, tell him all this stuff. He's very nice, very, he always wants to work with you well. And then you revise it. Even when I went in there, they helped me revise my capstone. They're always offering suggestions just to say, hey, maybe you can move here, do this, and they're very helpful with that. Then you need to receive approval. So once the town manager approves your plan, it has to go to all of these subcommittees. And I won't bore you with all of them, but basically you're going through the town and the inner workings to make sure that things like construction are going to be fine, things like wetlands aren't being disturbed, zoning, everything that the town needs to make sure that they can be covered on and that it's applying with all the local regulations and laws. And then your final step is to present to the town. So this is your grand debut. You contact the town, say, hey, I'm going to be presenting, let them know ahead of time so you can set up. You present to the town and then they'll vote on it. And then once the board votes on it, it either doesn't get passed, which is unfortunate, you can try again, or it goes to a bid. So this right here is a standard cover of a bid package. So what they do is the town, they actually have a specific person for that. They fill out a bid package which basically describes the project at hand and what needs to be done, and then it goes and the lowest bidder is able to complete the project. So another thing I looked into was who could construct these. So like I said before, California skate parks, they've made the Rockwell Park in Bristol. But I also went and I looked at certain articles, and the New Britain Herald described that the Newington Parks and Rec Department just redid the skate park in the town, which if any of you have seen it, came out very nicely. It's all smooth concrete and they redid it really well. So Berlin doesn't have, I talked to them, Berlin doesn't have the capabilities to do a skate park to that scale, so it would most likely be outsourced. But I do know that in some towns, if we were out of Berlin, it could possibly be done by your Parks and Rec department. Oops, sorry. And then I talked with them on the board, and I sort of came with the takeaway that this is a project that is very possible to do in the town. The town wants it. There's people in the town that want it, whether it's for, they want community involvement, they want to prevent property destruction, they just want to see one. Because I personally would love to have one. It's a hassle to go to other towns in order to use their facilities where if you had the possibility, you could create one right at home. It would save a lot of people time, money, and it would possibly increase the traffic through the town. So everyone wins. And I was actually, it's funny, I was just speaking with Officer Koska, who works here at the school, and even he was very enthusiastic about it. So my major takeaway was that this is a project that everyone wants, and it's very possible to create. All that it needs is the time and the money. Now, it won't come easy, because I looked up the average cost of the skate park, and according to the Tony Hawk Foundation, they said the average cost is coming to around $400,000, which in comparison to other town projects is not as large, but $400,000 is still $400,000. But on the flip side, I also think that if you use the money correctly and we make a very good facility, that we will definitely get our money's worth out of it. And if it increases traffic, we'll make money off of it. So I enjoyed this project, and I would like to pursue it more if I have time this summer, and I might go back and create an actual plan to present to the town with my local community members and people on the town board. So thank you. Any questions?
Have you looked at the difference between finding a whole new location, going through all that process, as opposed to sliding it into, you know, like next to one pool, or, you know,
Yeah.
is that possible? Is there enough of a footprint?
It would be very possible to put it next to a place. All that you really need is you just need to make sure that the ground is solid, because it's basically a concrete slab, with other concrete
Right.
poured onto it with rebar over it. So as long as you have a solid place to put it, a lot of them have fences around them just to keep them in, like the one Weathersfield. But if you go to the one in Bristol, because those are the two that I go to, the one in Bristol is open, so you can walk through it and whatever, and then it's like almost borderless, so it's the skate park here, you have the playscape, and then you have the water park,
Right.
and then the walkway that goes into around the pond. So if it were to be built, I would like to see it built near another facility, just so it's very, accessible. And probably the best places to be would be downtown. I know by the train station, they're opening a lot of area down there. There were plans before that people wanted to get one behind Stop and Shop in that open area there by the VFW, but they got heavy resistance from them, and I guess that it was just too much to pursue. But any town-owned land would work, and anything around this area would be very good, because everyone that goes to the school, or everyone in Berlin, is more or less very close to this part of town.
Right.
And that is a good point, because it's easier to, put it in with another.
I just figured it would be less, less approvals to go through, as far as wetlands and all that, because it's an existing facility. Cool.
I thought it was really cool.
Very informative presentation, Colin. So you said you would like to pursue, so you're going to, perhaps pursue this. What are your plans beyond that next year?
Oh, yeah, next year. So I'm going to be up at UConn next year. I'm going to be doing mechanical engineering. I'm also going to be doing ROTC, which is Army while you're in college, and then graduate, and then I go into the military for 4 years, and then do reserves for 4 years. So this is, streamline a little bit with what I want to do. It's solid engineering. And when I have free time in the summer, more or less, I'm either doing hard work, I'm biking. There's no in between, because I enjoy being outside so much, and I just can't sit inside.
Nicely done, thank you.